Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Coming into game number 2 of this best of 5 grand final series for the SEA TI5 qualifiers. We've got MVP on MVP, Hot6. Well, they took game number 1 in a very triumphant fashion, and we'll have game 2 loaded up pretty soon here. I think we all expected it to be a pretty bloody series, but that game was particularly bloody.
It really was. That was a complete massacre from start to finish. The bounty hunter there was no answer to it. Hot6, their movements around the map was just on point. We kind of talked all about it. I mean, how well Jarex did, but it also, the way he played in bounty hunter just fit in with the rest of the picks, having the Undying. The Lina mid never really was needed too much, but just punishing the disruptors while working really nicely against Darkseer. So everything fit together nicely.
Mm-hmm. For me personally, that's one of those games where I have to consider, okay, if I'm with friends, do I flame this team for playing poorly, or do I just talk about how well the other team played? And I think it's the latter. I think that MVP Hot6 from start to finish had complete control of the game. They went for the individual outplays constantly, especially, I mean, we talked about it so much, and I mean, Purge was like blown away by it, but Jarex just played that game so phenomenally. Mm-hmm. The setup for bottom when he first rotates down there after sniping the courier mid, then baiting March into a one-on-one situation where I feel that March is a veteran enough player to know better, but Jarex kind of just gives him like a good target. He's like, oh, well, you can kill me right now. And then he just kind of subtly outplays him, drags him to the corner to Heen. And I feel like Heen, from when we played against him, he was a player that was very confidence-based. He was the type of player that if you could kind of break his confidence early, then it felt like he became a non-factor. But for that game, for him to go get a 4-minute killing spree, I feel like from there he can kind of just say, I can take risks now. I can kind of play to my full potential, because no matter what happens, it's almost like you've got 3 deaths to play with to make your KDA even. Like, I know people don't care about that, but I feel like it does add some mental aspect where you're like, I'm actually doing really well in the scoreboard. I feel like I'm playing pretty well, and I'm going to try to look for more opportunities on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not, as you pointed out during the break, 9-minute drums, you're probably doing okay.
Yeah, Heen did actually do very well that game as well. I feel like Jarex wrecked the first couple kills, but after that, Heen just ran with it. Especially his TP supports, they were just completely spot on. I think he ended the game at least 7-0 or something ridiculous. At one point, I saw that he had 7 kills and 0 deaths, and I was like, that's a good disruptor. That's what you want to see out of your support players. Yeah. If you can do that, you're winning, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. One of the key things, it seems, in this series is courier sniping. Both these teams have been all about trying to snipe couriers. I feel like every game that I've cast that has Febby in it, at 2 minutes, he's there, regardless of what hero he's on, looking for that courier, ready to throw the auto attacks. And as you pointed out during the last break, almost surprising to see the courier get sniped, because against the bounty hunter, it should feel like a pretty obvious play.
And it was right after he poked him and harassed him at mid lane. So he poked him, harassed him at mid lane, went back to Shadow Walk, and then went up the ramp and just looped around. And it's like, that to me, as much as I don't think you can say Phoenix as a whole played bad, I think QO went super tilt mode. Shouldn't have given up the courier. Countless other kills, maybe. I mean, it's definitely a playstyle thing where he does try and get those comeback kills, but I think QO had a terrible game.
I mean, I guess, but at the same time, I think it was more, for me personally, when I play that type of mid-roll and things are going badly like that, I would kind of do things in the similar sense, so I can't blame him too much. It's like, you feel panicked, you feel the pressure, you're like, oh crap, I just lost my courier, like, I wasted a lot of mana, nothing is going right for me. And if you're not 100% experienced, like a player like Dendi, you don't really know where to go from there, I feel, and you kind of feel a little bit lost and say to yourself, like, what's the move? And you kind of increasingly get more aggressive in the hopes that something will stick, and then eventually things just go to absolute shit. But for me personally, I feel like the emphasis on the courier, and I felt like that was a great point, is because both mid players are so crucial to their team. For example, if Febby snipes a courier, then MP or Q already knows that he won the lane, and I feel like for him, that's a huge burden kind of lifted. He's like, oh, I don't have to worry about boots or a bottle or anything like that. I can just kind of play my game to the full potential.
Yeah, that's a great point. Looking at the draft here, things looking pretty similar to last go-around.
Slightly different, though. Phoenix drafted the Draw Ranger last game, and this time they are going to ban it. So apparently they said, okay, we tried it, didn't really work out. You seem to have the solution. This time we're going to ban it so you can't play it. And they stick to the Bloodseeker ban, which I think is the good one. I think that's been a lot of Hot6's strats have been surrounded around Bloodseeker. So
I think part of that is that first pick has been swapped over to MVP Phoenix this game. It was Hot6 in game 1. Okay. So they're still on the same sides, but first pick has changed.
So this could be a first pick Witch Doctor coming out here. He's the one that was banned out last time that made it through that Phoenix had been running quite a bit.
You give Hot6 then, like, Undying +1, like, with I mean, there's a lot of scary heroes, like the Lina, just go Undying Lina or the Undying Shadow Demon and just get a really aggressive vibe. I think.
So they take the Undying. That's really the safe bet, I suppose.
To me, like looking at the game one draft, I was like, draft-wise, none of us really felt like Phoenix got outdrafted. But if there's one hero that you banned or looked to take away, to me, it was the Undying. That was not so much the biggest problem here, but it just fits that Bounty Hunter playstyle so well. And if you take the Undying out, I think the Bounty Hunter is nowhere near as potent.
Okay. So what does that leave us here for Hot 6? Queen of Pain, the big one that's still in the pool that we've seen played quite a bit.
We've got Witch Doctor as well.
Yeah. And the Witch Doctor, yeah.
Witch Doctor and Earthshaker is probably the other kind of sometimes contested pick between these two teams.
And also Lena. Both of them really
Yeah.
like their Lena.
That was what I was going to say. I feel like Lena is very often picked in the first round by Hot 6, and they say we can play it mid, we can play it as support. And that's such a good advantage to have because that's one of the better supports right now. If you can land the stun, Jarek seems to be able to do that even without setup. So you can adjust your draft, you can use it in your strengths, you can fall back on a weakness or put it on the support if there's a 1v1 weakness matchup. So I think it gives them really good viability or variability as well. And the Witch Doctor's a pick. Probably will be Heen. He's got a lot of success on the hero as well. And second pick, they got a bunch of time.
Quap or Lena, as we talked about, probably the two most likely. But maybe Hot 6 will throw a curveball. I feel like last game showing just some of their versatility in general with the way they drafted that. And, well, the hyper-aggression maybe not as versatile, but I haven't seen a lineup quite like that.
I was about to say, the big thing with the Quap is if they don't take it, Phoenix will. Whereas I don't know if Phoenix care as much about the Lenas. So this is a pick that Hot 6 are fine with and also blocks it out from Phoenix.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So for MVP, I mean, Jerax, I feel, is one of the least hero-limited players. I think when he used to play he had a brief stint in Team Tinker, I asked Bulba, I was like, what do you think of Jerax? He's like, he just does stuff. Like, he goes around the map, kind of just directs.
Sounds
how
like a
the game
Bulba
goes.
response. He just does stuff, you know? Come on.
He just does stuff. He goes around the map, kills happen all of a sudden. He's the type of player that creates opportunities for his team, and I feel like that's so invaluable coming from a support role as well.
Yeah.
There are very few players, I feel like, in the world that can just kind of do things, as weird as that sounds. And MVP Phoenix, I mean, your eyes, they just lit up.
They're doing something different here. Second pick, Pugna. All right. We did actually see Pugna banned out a bit in the first series, the upper bracket opener for this playoff bracket. And we saw Huskar and Pugna bans a fair bit. So
The reason usually was because they had mana-intensive heroes, and the same thing kind of goes here. Hot 6 may have wanted to ban that hero out. It's usually against Leshrac, though, but Lesh spends so much mana to do his damage that Pugna would actually shred him with another word. But it's pretty good against Quap, pretty good against Witch Doctor. They both have pretty expensive spells. And it's essentially you can't fight us, and especially with Tombstone. If they got Tombstone down, they can't stand around. If they got the Nether Ward down, they can't even cast their spells. They basically just have to run away. So Phoenix could leverage this for some tactical advantage or to win some team fights.
now they just need a Venomancer for even more things to target on the
Don't
ground.
move.
As much as I think Pugna, I agree that it's great against Witch Doctor and Queen of Pain. I think Phoenix, I mean, that's like the added benefit. I think they're just going for like a cheesy push strat here more than anything.
Also possible.
I think Pugna to me was a pick that they felt, okay, let's put together this just cheesy draft, try and get a quick win with just 5-man push around the Undying, and then has the added benefit where Queen of Pain and Witch Doctor can't really fight too well into the Pugna.
I don't even know if you consider this cheesy, because this is what MVP Phoenix does.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
like
For MVP Phoenix, it's standard.
yeah, this is for any other team. If you look at it, you're like, oh, they've got some secret strategy. But for MVP Phoenix, I feel like they're the one exception in the world where they'll take the Warlock in the first two, and you're like, we never thought you were going to take that hero in the first place.
It's interesting that you mentioned Warlock. He could actually fit into this draft pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure he could.
They'd have really good heals then. Good tower pushing. Really good team fight, obviously.
There's the Huskar. Banned out.
I think heroes like Warlock, Viper, Jakiro, another good hero. Just these like annoying, tanky heroes that provide some pushing power, good team fight.
Huskar would have been so good here. Pugna basically can't kill him. It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Because all your damage is very magic. So, Decrypt helps a little bit against it, but not that much.
In both drafts as well, something I like to point out is that Phoenix so far have drafted against Ferev heavily, because they know that Hot 6 really like to pick Ferev's heroes into the latter phases of the game where he doesn't really have a counter, right, Kevin? I mean, we casted a game of theirs where they kind of just waited and then gave him a bit of an offbeat hero here and there. They gave him the Bloodseeker and then the Huskar, but it paid off so well, and here you see the Bloodseeker, the Drow, and the Huskar banned out.
They center their strats around him, essentially.
Yeah,
in a lot of cases, which I think is completely fine because he's got huge individual skill. Very good at snowballing, that guy. TA, the ban here, is it going to be a ban towards QO? Seems like they're focusing a lot on him.
I think just worried about you want to have like at least some rotating capabilities when you go for those push strats.
Is there? Okay, they
Ooh.
ban the
Yeah.
Naga. I've seen a lot of bans towards Phoenix actually with the Naga, and I think it's usually
Yeah.
been Hot 6.
It
I could
has.
definitely see them running that. They ran it a lot in Korea about a year ago, so might still favor it. But we haven't seen that much Naga this tournament. But surely there's some knowledge behind it, because if nobody's picking it and these teams scrim all the time, it's got to be they see it and do it sometimes.
Well, Hot 6 will have the first third pick here. Still pretty open-ended draft.
They need counter push. That's the main thing.
So what
If it
comes
is
to
a push.
what comes to mind for a good counter push here?
I mean, Coddle obviously, but I don't know if I like Coddle versus Undyne. It's kind of a non-factor towards stopping Undyne. Obviously, the blast is good, but if he tombstones on top of you, you pretty much just have to run. But again, we still don't know if it's a hardcore push strat. It could be. It could be more teamfight focused and laning focused. It could be a carry Pugno with 2 supports. We saw Vici Gaming doing that a lot at the Summit 3. They just did aggressive tri-lane. They've got 3 ranged attacks. They've got 3 nukes. Dazzle's going to be their second support, though. So a very, very
Yeah.
popular support. I
give-
think the whole qualifier, really. All the qualifiers.
Yeah, they'll give Phoenix a taste of their own medicine. This is the support duo that they ran quite a bit with Febby on the Dazzle and Nuts on the Witch Doctor. And here Hot 6 will grab a lot of sustainability, of course. And first thing that comes to mind for me is Ancient Apparition would be an okay choice for MVP Phoenix, but I doubt we'll see it. He seems to be a forgotten Frosty.
Outside of China, he has not been picked really at all.
Yeah.
By any, I think there was 1 or 2 games in Europe where I saw an AA, but
His tri-lane's strong, but he has no disable. I think he's pretty weak there, and I feel like we haven't seen his ultimate be that amazing. Like, sometimes it's good. You're like, oh, they got an Ice Blast. But you never really say, like, oh, wow, the Ice Blast won that fight. It's sometimes, but if the games don't go as late as well, they're ending a little earlier than usual. There are some long games, but I feel like because of that, he doesn't get Ags that often. The Ags is really where he becomes, like, you can't fight for 10 seconds. Whereas the level 1 Ice Blast is just a nice benefit that can set up with some bursts. And it's hard to predict ganks a lot of the times because there's so much map movement. So I think that's why A is maybe not as popular recently. He's good against Witch Doctor Dazzle Heal, so maybe.
I think the main thing with a hero like Ancient Apparition is it's so passive that you can't really pressure any sort of lanes, and there is a wind-up period, I feel, with the hero, Andrew. I think that you get a few levels, and if you're uncontested and you can get something like a Midas Ags, then yeah, it's a great hero, but it feels like the build-up to it is a little bit underwhelming, where you're almost just a walking ult machine. Like, you don't really provide any other balance to the game.
That's true.
Ice Vortex is great if you can get the combo off, but yeah, it's before that. You're definitely a walking ult. Disruptor picked up for Phoenix.
Yeah.
Very good against Quap, except it is on the other team now. Kind of swapping heroes a bit.
Yep. And based on those first 2 picks from Phoenix, I think aggression will be the name of the game. So generally the scenario where Disruptor will be a pretty valuable pickup.
It's pretty interesting to look at the banning styles of the teams. Phoenix, like you said, always bans out Frev, but Hot6 basically gets their pick of the support litter. Is what they get to do every game. They're like, we get the exact supports they want. Well, we maybe don't get the cores we want, whereas Phoenix is the other way. Phoenix gets the cores they want, but usually not the supports.
Hot 6 lacking on disables, but now they've got the elusive Weaver. A little bit of synergy there with the minus armor from Dazzle.
Disruptor's pretty good against Weaver.
Yeah.
Weaver's, I mean, if he can find like his way onto the Cyber team, Vike can bring down the Tombstone if he goes unnoticed. But
Yeah.
he's going to be like the one kind of in charge of finding the Nether Ward, finding the Tombstone to help his team out in a fight. But not always going to be a guarantee or necessarily that easy for him against Disruptor.
If he does get a BKB, he's essentially invulnerable based on what MVP Phoenix has right now. So that's good for him. And
conversely,
Dazzle
if he kind of balls out of control, a fast Desolator could do a lot of damage to these heroes. All of them pretty low armor.
Yeah, he's gonna dual lane as well. So if Hot6 want to start off with the Witch Doctor in the offlane with their offlane hero, Dazzle Weaver is pretty good. You could Sakuchi under somebody, then do Shadow Wave on top of it. It's pretty good. I think it's very good versus Undyne as well. If Undyne's in the offlane, like zombies are obviously a non-threat to Weaver. You can just Sakuchi and run away. So
Yeah.
I think this is gonna give them some good lane control versus Undyne.
Well, there's Slaughter.
This is interesting.
So Slardar's been picked off and on. Alliance picked them a lot. I think he's in a pretty good place right now. He has a very high duration stun. He can spot out the Weaver using his amplified damage, and it also slightly counters the Dazzle minus armor or plus armor that he'll be using. So it doesn't synergize at all with Pugna is the problem.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's what made me kind of go, If anything, I would have thought Hot 6 may grab a Slardar here with all of their minus armor synergy, but
Yeah, that would have been good.
I'm not sure. I'm not quite seeing the unity across this Phoenix draft with these 4 heroes so far.
Well,
They just, I mean, they needed an initiator at some point. Like
Yeah.
whether you're going for a push strat or whatever you're doing, you need an initiator. So if it's on a Slardar, I mean, it's a Centaur, which maybe has his own merits, but Slardar he's the initiator role, and he has the added benefit where you have amp damage to track the Weaver, and even potentially a Queen of Pain who's
Yeah.
blinking out of there. So
yeah, he's a good hero to help you kill Weaver and Quap. It's not just do it by himself,
Yeah.
but you get the stun setup, blink stun into disrupt ulti. That could very easily be a Weaver or a
Yes.
Quap kill with low effort at that point. So the synergy is a bit weak, but there are some good things out of that.
yeah. I
No
mean, to
doubt.
me, the Pugna Slardar lack of synergies, and I mean, Decrep is not why you pick Pugna by any means. That I mean, at this point, the physical damage coming out from Hot 6 is just the Weaver, really. So I think that those two heroes being on the same draft doesn't really matter so much. for
There's a Witch
Phoenix.
Doctor ulti though.
Yeah, that's
You could save people with decrep on that quite easily.
I think more for Phoenix's lineup, they needed a frontline tank that can initiate and kind of draw attention to himself without having to be a hardcore farmer. Because I feel like if you take anything that requires a ton of farm to be useful, then you kind of just limit the effectiveness of the Pugna and the Undying, and you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like, you want a hero that can play the carry role, that you don't care if he gets wiped out like 3 times in the laning phase, or as long as he gets a Blink Dagger at a reasonable time. Even after that, if he dies in every single team fight, you're okay with it, because all you need him to do is get some good amplified damages off, which isn't too hard, and try to land as many stuns as you can on multiple heroes.
Whoa, here's a change of pace. We have not seen any Omni Knight in this qualifier, have we?
It's occasionally picked, I think, but the synergy here is Weaver, basically. You Sakuchi under, similar to the Shadow Wave thing. Sakuchi under an opponent, and then
Just
you
heal
cast
bomb.
heals on him, and it
Yeah.
does an insane amount of damage. It's like one of the best offensive ways to use Omni Knight.
They just have so much sustainability here.
Yeah, 3
Ton of
heals.
healing
do
power.
you
You could even consider like time lapse for Weaver as a self heal in some ways.
Yeah.
do you pick the A support here?
No,
they're gonna.
You go Tinker.
Wow.
Okay.
This
So-
is a KP special. This is to me KP's best hero. So
I think you're completely right there, because every single time that I saw him at MLG, what he was doing is when they got knocked out of the tournament by EG, he's just like, I'm going to gain some MMR in America while I'm here. And then he just like queues up, shamelessly picks Tinker in every single game. And I was like, dude, I've been gone for like 6 hours. And he shows me his match history, all Tinker, like the
Yeah.
entire way through. And that's like unbelievable to me, that he can just sit there and play that hero over and over again.
he's got a beastly. To me, he's like one of the top 5 Tinkers in the world. I mean, he's obviously not on like a tier 1 team necessarily, but he's insane.
You think his potential's that high, essentially?
With Tinker, yeah, I think
Wow.
like you could substitute him out for like a tier 1 player on the Tinker, and he would deliver the goods. But
So what do you
I'm
think?
biased, so
What do you think about the drafts overall, though? Definitely a change of pace for both these teams.
these are just 2 very unorthodox drafts. I think it's looking at them. I like the 2 drafts, seeing something different. I think MVP have a good balance. They just have a very balanced, versatile draft. Like they've got the Slardar pick works nicely. It's a carry, as Blitz said, doesn't need too much farm. Just needs to get up the Blink Dagger for initiation. Also opens up Roshan for them to take, as well as acting as a pseudo Weaver counter. I'm not sold on the Omni Knight. I think it's a hero that could be a potential weakness in the Hot 6 side.
And it's a support Pugna, I think, on Febby. So kind of a weird pick. I think the
he's got
Netherward's still very good this game. There's a lot of high mana cost spells, so
Okay, well, with that, once again, Gods and Blitz will be your casters. Take it away, boys, for game number 2.
Alrighty. Here we go. Down towards the bottom lane comes the Hot 6 side, but just trying to... Oh, sorry, the Phoenix side. Just trying to get some scouting information. Man, it gets so confusing. Which MVP is which?
It says MVP, and the only thing that you can really tell is that one MVP has a border around it, and the other MVP doesn't. Like, if you're a new player and you're watching this, you are so confused. Like, you're furiously clicking, thinking there's some sort of bug right now.
Yep. I guess some of the players have the extra tag on the Radiant side with Hot 6, and I don't think they even have the Phoenix tag anymore. But we'll see a bottom rune contest coming in, maybe. A lot of heroes down here. Q are going to march on forward. KP sing behind. There are 4 Hot 6 heroes here to defend this one, and March runs in. 3 hero decay to start things off. Nice kinetic field. Going to zone some heroes out, but Queen of Pain does get the bounty rune. May need to blink out, and we'll do so. Whoa. What was that? That's some new Immortal?
I think so. I think that was the new March of the Machines. It kind of just blanketed the
The
area first.
little ting, ting. It
Yeah.
felt like a wind chime or something.
But KP does use the first March there. It wasn't too effective. I said March there, but not to be confused with the actual player.
Yep.
And this is actually going to be a pretty interesting dual lane. And I actually think they had to do it this way because Febby, as a Pugna, you don't want to play him as a 5 role where he just kind of zones out the offlaner or just pulls nonstop. I think he's meant to be a hero where you're trying to get stuff early.
And they're going to dual lane mid as well, so this does give them a solo top Slider against the Omni Knight, which I guess is an okay matchup for Slider. Or an okay matchup for both heroes, maybe. I mean, melee on melee, Omni Knight does have the easy self-heal to do damage as well at the same time.
Yeah, and it just depends on, I guess, how many times he gets tanked with that. And that's really throwing me off because I
That
thought
is obnoxious.
I thought that was like a visual bug for a second. I was like, did something happen to our
Yes.
computers?
And I heard the sound just like, what is actually going on here?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
it happens.
Yeah. It's only going to get more crazy over the coming years with new immortals and new hats. So, gotta get used to it now. Gotta be open to change. No courier snipe this time around, or at least not by Hot6. As the bottle, I think, oh no, just a minute and a half in, so we'll see easy access there. There will be a cast thrown out at top lane. Does not bounce to the creep here as QO getting slowed down slightly. Will be forced to turn and stun before backing off, and if somebody can pick up some boots here, could cause QO some problems with that degen aura.
He's actually doing so much work right now at top, Sunby. And he's forcing out the Slardar into an uncomfortable position where he's using a lot of his mana. And I feel like this Disruptor Slardar combo relies on having a good start. But because Jerax has rotated to the top lane, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to zone out the Omni Knight. And like you said, yes, Omni can be the weak link, but this is a hero that's notorious for having a bad laning phase, and that's where you kind of exploit him. But in this game, it's pretty much free farm for an offlaner right now.
Yeah, this is not looking like a tough lane for him to be in. He already has the Orb of Venom and looking to find some kills with the Witch Doctor. It just seems Jerax is really good at finding the lane where he can have the most impact in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Be it on a roaming hero like a Bounty Hunter, or even just here on a Witch Doctor, deciding top lane is where he's going to sit himself, and this is a lane where he can set up Sunby for success.
Yeah, definitely. And right now we're just seeing the CS scores reflected. The Queen of Pain versus the Tinker mid matchup, I kind of expect that because the Queen of Pain, I mean, the Tinker's wasted so many marches early, right? Especially the one in the jungle. So he's had a little bit of difficulty, but that's kind of like a draw, I feel, because the Queen of Pain and the Tinker get farm.
Forev. Febby popped up the ward, hoping maybe for a Shikuchi to proc on it, but Forev will barely survive this one, down to around 100 HP. The Tombstone under the tower. Forev hit by a blast. No mana for a decay here. Has the Mango Axie, but it was on cooldown, more importantly.
That was a really nice aggressive move. Like, that costs you almost nothing. Dropping the Tombstone is not that big of a deal because the enemy team doesn't have an offensive lane, right? Typically, you'll drop the Tombstone either to start a fight or to counter-initiate, and you don't need it in either scenario. And right now, MP just getting so aggressive here, realizing that the dagger allows them to trade better. And if you go 2 into this March build, Gods, I feel like your lane dominance is a little bit weaker. Yes, it secures your farm a little bit better in the mid-game, but it allows the Queen of Pain to just kind of go on you without any repercussions.
Yeah, that's where even a lot of Tinkers will save skill points, or at least even just get the level 2 laser as early as possible, but we'll see how things kind of move from here for the Tinker, who's being forced back to the fountain to heal up for now. And we'll be TPing back in. We saw this last game from Cure, where he kept getting zoned out of the lane, had to TP back to lane 3 times, and I guess with Tinker, you're not really needing that TP to go to the side lanes. You're mostly kind of a farming-oriented mid-hero, but it does kind of eat into your economy a bit with all those TP scrolls.
Yeah, and I presume that they're just, with this type of lineup that MVP Phoenix have, I think they're just trying to create space as much as they can for KP. And like you said, I mean, if you consider him a top 5 talent in the world at this Tinker, then he just needs a little bit of room to be able to do this in this mid lane. I mean, they're just trying to harass MP out as much as possible.
The haste rune on Febby. He's not going to commit to the Courier as it did get hasted out of there. And actually will feed away the Nether Ward. Does not get denied.
Was that 70 gold?
I think it's a 20.
Okay. I have really terrible vision from this far away, so... but that was a good rotation over by Febby in some ways, but at the same time, doesn't really accomplish too much because the Queen of Pain, if you notice, MP was so calm. Like, he doesn't dagger, scream, or use his blink there. He just kind of chills and he's like, I'm actually just going to walk away from this.
Let's wait and see what you do before I mean, yeah, exactly, like you say. He's very patient. And for MVP Phoenix, the early game laning stage has not really worked out too well for them. All 3 core heroes on the Hot6 side have 20 plus CS, and for the Dire side, they are kind of splitting the CS between Pugna and Dying. It's actually a pretty even laning stage with MVP Phoenix deciding not to commit to one of their offlaners getting more farm than the other.
Sharing is caring.
I guess with Undying Pugna, both can kind of benefit from an item or two. Like you want a mech maybe some way, you want a Glimmer Cape, or you want just the bare basics on a few of these heroes.
I just don't think that a hero like the Pugna deserves to have nothing. Like he's not your typical support hero where he's going to be super useful without levels, where he's got a reliable stun and he can change the course of the game by simply getting a blink dagger. I feel like Pugna is one of those heroes where you are required to get some measure of farm and some measure of levels just to be useful. Like it's similar in the sense of the Omni Knight as well, right? Where he needs levels and farm. He can't just have level 1 repel and walk around level 1 repelling and level 4 healing people. He actually has to have some impact in the early game in terms of farm and levels. And I like the way that MVP Hot6 have laned this so far because it seems to maximize the potential of all three lanes. And you're seeing that right now as the Omni has quietly crept up to the top in terms of CS.
He does need to do well as far as farm and CS too, because he has committed to degen. So once he wants to go for the repel, he's going to be somewhat skill point limited. And that's where this is a commitment to even just getting the 2 points in degen, where this could be something that MVP Phoenix look to punish later on.
Q opts to get a bottle. I don't think that's out of the ordinary anymore, right? Most carries, I feel, get one.
Yeah.
Just because if you get a good rune, you can impact the fight so much. If Kyo, for example, gets a haste or a DD, then they can win a fight solely off of that.
Especially in the lane you're getting harassed. If you have like a free farm lane, maybe you skip it.
Yeah, exactly. I think if he wasn't being contested so heavily here, he needs the extra regen, to be honest with you. Now that the Omni Knight's got Arcane Boots, they're just going to throw out stuns for fun.
Yeah, there'll be constant harass coming his way. Now the amp damage comes into play though, but it feels like in this 2v2 there won't be any kills either way unless there's like a third hero to rotate in, someone like a Queen of Pain, who happens to be making her way towards his top lane. MP in the neighborhood, but not gonna fully rotate up. No dire vision near the top lane, but not there. It looks like bottom lane a Tombstone was dropped and taken out by the Radiant side.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is that... oh, actually, in
Ooh,
middle,
Sonic
MP
Wave.
goes for it?
Solo kill on Tinker. The glimpse back under the tower. It looks like MP should pay for this with his life. There will be a second kill going the way of the Radiant as Jerex picks another up for Hot6. A 2-for-1 trade. Disruptor got a lot of farm and XP out of that one, but MP going to be pretty happy with the first blood.
Yeah, and MVP Hot6 are going to be really satisfied with the levels right now that they're getting on top of their supports. Hina's already picked up his level 6, which is the same level as this short lane Slardar, which you're really happy about. And this Witch Doctor on top of that, he's actually getting really decent levels considering that he was in the off lane. Like, he's picked up level 5, and it feels like both team supports are actually doing quite well in that department. So probably not going to be a game where we see one or two useless supports.
I mean, every hero, as far as cores go, are farming. Supports are getting levels. This is, like, as far as the lanes go, it doesn't feel like there's an off lane versus safe lane in this game. Every lane is kind of like an even matchup, where all cores are getting farm, all supports are getting a few CS here or there, and definitely getting experience. So
March pops the Flesh Golem.
they're coming from behind here. They want to flank this one, but fighting under the Nether Ward and Tombstone not going to be easy. They need to make sure they stay near, but with the DD rune, a lot of damage from Dazzle. March has a Soul Rip. He's trying to bait, instead going to go for the TP, and they did not Shikuchi after him. He gets the TP out. Febi now being chased down with a cast. Shikuchi damage should be enough. He's going to decrypt TP, but that sets up some bonus damage on the Shikuchi. Would have probably died anyways, but now his TP on cooldown.
MP is playing this so aggressively right now, and Warnuts doesn't have his glimpse back, but for me... Oh, and actually he does right now, but I doubt he goes for this at this point.
Didn't have the Tinker there. I wonder if he maybe stole some of those neutrals that Tinker was farming.
Oh, they might actually make a move on him as he's quite low.
You betcha. Static Storm, maybe if it got on the Queen of Pain, but it's going to be Jerax who gets another kill for his team. We've talked Jerax up all series long yesterday as well as today, but continuing to make things happen on the support role.
He just does stuff. Like Bulba said, he's playing like a Witch Doctor that was kind of in the off lane, and he's going around just making movement around the map with the hero that I typically don't see move at this period of time. Something I did want to mention, and I don't... Oh, and at top, actually.
There was a lot of
Sunbee's
chain
being
stuns
solo.
there. The bash is coming out as well. Gets the tower deny. Looking for a TP with the repel. Gets glimpsed back as the repel wears off, it looks like. And they'll get the kill on Omni Knight.
Oh, and at top, though, MP He's ready for this.
Yep, Sonic Wave and everything. QO goes in with a stun, but MP should be okay. He can kite around this one. In fact, he's going to turn and fight with a creep wave. Has a scream, and it's a double kill going MP's way. Oh boy, bottom lane meanwhile, there's a big fight going on. Witch Doctor started the funnel for the kill. No surprises there, but he did pay for it with his life. As Pugner got one turnaround, a 4-for-2 trade across both top and bottom lane. It was a 2-for-1 at top and a 2-for-1 at bottom, it looks like.
Yeah, and right now the only thing that's kind of going okay for Hot6 or for Phoenix right now is this Tinker is still doing okay. He's farming out the jungle right now, but MP's just had such a dominant laning phase. He's gone lane to lane right now, picked up kills, and QO especially needs that Blink Dagger. Like I feel until he gets a Blink Dagger, MVP Phoenix, you know, it's going to be hard for them to get online.
Yeah, and this is not exactly been an easy game for QO to find farm in lane against the Omni Knight Witch Doctor lane, and anytime he goes back up there, there's rotation from Queen of Pain. Witch Doctor's been all over the map. Speaking of which, Jerax now comes in the jungle again, needs to be a little bit careful. The March gets turned around, and Jerax is somewhat surrounded here, looking for the cast bounce. Does get one, but won't get any follow-up ones. And Jerax, caught in the static storm, will get zapped down by the Nether Ward.
Oh, I think MP is actually going to make the move for this right now.
Well, we'll get one with the help of the Purification, and they bring down the Nether Ward on top of that.
And the tower goes down. March does manage to deny it, but still, this is just more gold going the way of Hot6, and I feel like this is not as bad as game one, but again, you're just kind of seeing the snowball off the laning phase, and yes, you killed Jerax there, but at the same time, you get the instant rebuttal kill, and I don't even think that's that bad for either MVP squad, actually.
March may need to be careful here. In comes Forev, gets the Gemini attack after the Chikuchi. March is going to go down. It looks like TPing from Tinker. He could go for the counter kill. Forev, 2 seconds, 1. Chikuchi coming up soon, but not soon enough. KP gets a much-needed counter kill here at the bottom lane.
That's a killing spree as well. I think he's going to be really happy with what just happened because that's a huge net worth swing, and the glimpse does go down, though.
No repel. He's just going to go for the TP out, and Sunby barely makes it. Tinker almost getting back in time for another kill to go his way. It feels like this game has suddenly become let's just pray and hope the Tinker pick works kind of game.
I don't know if it's gone that far yet. I feel there's more opportunities for MVP Phoenix once they get the Blink Dagger on that Slardar. Like, I would put more of an importance on that than anything.
Okay.
And I feel like once he does get it, then we'll see the landscape of the game. And if they're still losing at that point, then yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those, well, if our Tinker gets farmed, let's just, I don't know, KP's good. Like, let's just hope that that pans out.
They get a T1 tower mid. That's going to help Slatter on the way towards his Blink Dagger. Slatter did finding a kill maybe here at the top lane, looking for the Witch Doctor. Has a TP in from Tinker. Any missiles to come out. I hear him being shot, and that's going to be the death of Jerax. And Slatter dies there, but did get at least some experience and AoE gold out of it. As Tinker now going to rotate in. Fighting a DD Queen of Pain, maybe not the best idea. KP barely gets the TP out in time.
MP looks like he still wants to go for this with the DD as well, which is going to be
fighting
pretty unlikely, though.
Tinker is probably not a good idea here.
MP has to be really careful. He is getting quite low.
Okay. We'll escape the blink out. Rushing a BKB as well here in Queen of Pain. Meanwhile, mid lane, they're going to get a repel to get rid of the glimpse. Nicely played by Omni Knight.
Yeah, I forgot about that as well. And that's part of the thing that makes Disruptor so strong is that early game glimpse where people can TP in and you get a free pick off. And QO, I mean, he's had a rough time of it right now. No strength treads or anything to speak of. But I still feel Slardar, the game changes once he gets a Blink Dagger. If he can get 1 or 2 successful rotations off, then I feel like you open up some space for the Tinker and you just start to put fear in MVP Hot6's eyes, because I feel like in the last 2 games, MVP Hot6 straight up just disrespected them. They said, we don't really care what you're going to do. We're just going to play our own style, and we're just going to assume you have nothing up your sleeve. It's
a Tombstone plus Nether Ward with the Blink Slatter initiation. That is a team fight that not many lineups could kind of stand up to, and that's where Hot6 have to pick and choose their battles a lot more carefully once the Blink Dagger does come up. So for now, they're going to start pressuring towers, maybe recognizing that that Blink is not here yet, and that they've got a bit of a timing where they can look to fight, but never easy against the Tinker.
Yeah, and he should... I mean, Tinker's one of those heroes, though, that, yes, you're behind, but it feels like one of the few heroes in the game that will extend the game indefinitely and be able to win it, because if that hero gets 4 slotted, it feels like he's 15 slotted. Because he just continues to refresh, throw rockets at you, single most annoying hero in Dota.
good luck ever actually killing him once he has the Bloodstone as well, which has normally been the pick up here. Bottom lane, they're going to go for the kill on Jerick. They get him. Tinker's being dived here. Nice cast bouncing around, but for him, kind of in over his head here alone. The Tombstone's being dropped as well. He TP's into his death, and that's 2 kills. They do get the Tinker in the backlines here. That was a rotation from MP as well as Sunbee. And 4 over the Repellon feels like he can just continue to fight. Gets the GA as well. The Life Drain coming in. And Sunbee, he's going to be kept alive. Gets off another heal. Sonic Wave goes through. Kills off a second Phoenix hero. A third goes down at 4. And they're just cleaning up Phoenix now. 4 down. Just as Slaughter remains. Blink, Crush. They want these kills. And QO may get them. Buyback time-lapse. 4 says, I don't think so, my friend. And it's a team wipe for, I believe, 5 for 4 with a Weaver buyback. Because Witch Doctor died at the start.
Yeah, and that's
kind of even.
It's kind of even-ish, but it's how much you've just given away to the Queen of Pain.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you reveal your Blink Dagger and you don't stomp the fight. At the same time, your Tinker...
he ran back... yeah, he ran right into the flank coming from the Queen of Pain and Omni Knight there.
Yeah, and this really felt like MVP Hot6 or Phoenix were going to dominate this fight, but all of a sudden, that Queen of Pain ultimate was so clutch. Just hitting every single hero in the back line, and if you watch this right now, throws it straight down the middle, catches all 3 heroes.
If that doesn't catch QO, his reinitiation suddenly looks a whole lot more powerful at the end here. Although I imagine with the 4 buyback, he would have been dead regardless. It was a ballsy play to go for. I mean, you kind of mentioned QO does go for these these moments where he feels like he has to make a play happen. And at that point, probably feeling like it was one of them.
That was one of the most QO things I've seen. And I've known that guy for I've been playing against him for like a year and a half, where he just kind of does that, where he feels like he has to be that player. And I really feel like he is more times than not.
Yep. Going to get the glimpse back on Jerick's. Not caught in the kinetic field, though, and didn't look like they wanted to commit to that one anyways.
It's a sentry battle, and actually, this is actually such a smart smoke.
I think they may have spotted it out. They were pinging it as if they did.
Yeah, I think they're worried about the wraparound.
That observer would, I think, peered enough in that they saw the smoke, but not sure on that one.
Oh, they think they're going for the wraparound, and actually,
yeah,
Hot6 just say...
They'll soon figure out it's Roshan, though. But it
doesn't matter.
Blink in March, not going to matter. Roshan picked up. As Weaver gets the Age, is now going to see a blink in from Queen of Pain with a BKB. This is not a hero that's going to be easy to fight. Netherward gets decrypt on the front lines. They're trying to fight into it, but not the best idea until MP brings it down. Blinks forward. His BKB's worn off now, but it's already looking like a Hot6 advantage. Sonic Wave goes through, just catches up March, and Feb are going to be pushed back. That Desolator damage tears him apart. As Heen now gets caught out by a nice Blink Crush. QO brings down the Witch Doctor to start things off here. Heen's going to be careful, as he is being repelled now, glimpsed back, and this is just being used to cover the retreat from MVP Phoenix.
Yeah, and Hot6 aren't going to get more than that, but they're completely satisfied with the Roshan. If you saw the drawings on the map, MVP Phoenix looked like they kind of wanted to go for a play. They're like, oh, well, we'll draw this line. They probably think, okay, we're going to get wrapped around on, so let's just kind of group together. But with a Desolator Weaver, I mean, you have to be faster to that than the Roche. You have to be faster to the Roche pit than that, and I mean, MVP Phoenix, they were just caught off guard. Like, they had no time to respond. Like, even I thought that MVP Hot6 were going to go for the smoke wraparound, but they're like, nope, we're just going to Roshan in your face. This is the best possible move because it's so obvious that you won't expect it.
It was just insane how fast they actually killed it off as well this early on. Just the Desolator alone, giving them what they needed. And well, from here, MVP Phoenix are just going to kind of fall back and probably look to play a kind of more slow defensive game, although not necessarily to their style, especially QO, who'll be probably still itching to get aggressive and try and make something happen with the Slaughter, but at some point they've just got to accept, okay, they've got an Aegis Weaver with Desolator. We've just got to play for the late game Tinker.
Yeah, that's a BKB Weaver as well, which kind of makes me think that they're kind of going for this mid-game sort of timing. MP deciding to go for that Snowball build as well. Like, I feel like when you go for the BKB, on Queen of Pain especially, that's the item that signifies I don't want to throw away my lead. Like, I just want to keep the ball rolling. I don't want to give you whatever streak that I currently have right now and just kind of throw it away. I can snowball by just picking up safe kills and kind of out-team fighting you. And against a lineup with, I mean, a Disruptor alone, it's going to be a worthwhile pickup. And then the Pugna Ward on top of that, I feel like it pays off so well.
What do you, I mean, from the Hot6 side, okay, they've got this early game lead. They've got the Aegis. Are they looking to push down lots of outer towers? I mean, they can't just... They have to find a fight if they want to try and take a team fight. What's their general plan from here on out while they've got Aegis?
I think you look for a pickoff onto the Tinker and then just go all into a lane. Because MVP Phoenix's lineup, they don't do the split push game well without the Tinker. Like, it's entirely reliant on the Tinker. This is kind of the downside of having a Tinker, because if he's dead, then you've got no other split push available. But if he's alive, I mean, he can abuse you like this, and they're just looking for the opportunity right now.
Well, they smoked up here. Looks like they're just going to get some wards down as they roam into the dire jungle. Smoke has worn off, and MVP Phoenix just playing keep away more than anything, and so far so good for the last minute or so at least.
Yeah, they're just trying to buy time as much as they can for the Tinker. That's the only thing that matters.
Courier does go down.
Alright, that's pretty significant. When the game slows down like this, I feel like that matters a decent amount. Kyo's so smart. He's doing the, I'm going to farm in the enemy jungle base because it's the safest place to be if the other team is playing overly aggressive.
Yep. And he's now going to maybe come in from behind here. He's trying to pull creeps off here, but he's going to run into Jerex, in fact. He's not going to throw any coconuts here. They're actually just going to go straight up, push down the mid lane. Not the easiest thing to do against the Tinker, but with the Repel on Forev, he's able to at least stand up on the high ground and do a bit of damage before he decides he doesn't want to fight the tower too much longer. They're going to keep going for this. They're going to slow down the push with a kinetic field, and they need the Tinker back. They need more matches. Tinker did not pick up his soul booster because the courier went down, which does mean he's got the slightly smaller mana pool, which, as you could have mentioned, these courier snipes can be a big deal.
They have to keep things like the Tombstone alive, because if they're going to have any sort of hope for fighting this, they need as much as they can possibly get. And the Weaver is just such a hard target to go on because of the Repel. He's got a lot of HP on top of that. He's got a decent amount of wand stacks as well. And he's got the Repel, the Guardian Angel as well to back him up. And look, he's taking 0 damage right now, and I think he's just going to get healed up and repelled again and continue to hit the tower. And that timing is QO doesn't get the stun off, and they have to pop the glove.
Really, once that tier 3 tower goes down, it gets a whole lot easier to go high ground. Though you do have to push in a bit deeper into the match, as KP doing all he can to delay this one. Having an Aegis on the Weaver just makes this defense so problematic. And they're just executing well here. They have now lost the Aegis, and this may be the end of the siege for MVP Hot6, unless they want to risk their Weaver dying here in the front lines.
I don't think you do. I think it's a little bit risky.
Well, they go in on Jerex here. Will they look to save him? They throw a Purification. Blink in from the Queen of Pain with a Scream, but no. MVP Phoenix are not looking to overcommit for any kills here. They're just looking to poke and prod from afar. Hope somebody gets low enough that they can then find that pick off to start the team fight with.
I think if you're Hot6, though, you can back here because you haven't lost anything, right? All of the Tinker's resources had to be kind of sent to that mid lane in the hopes of defending that tower. And so you don't really lose too much. You're okay with it. QO right now in the back lines does get the Amplify off, but I think this is more of just a posturing maneuver.
Yeah. He's played that fight pretty well, QO, though. Got a lot of vision, used the amp damage, and managed to pester Hot6 enough that they didn't hold the high ground in the end. But while all that was going on, Tinker is suddenly the top farmed hero. He's been split pushing the side lanes. He was getting a lot of the farm, obviously, when defending the high ground. And Bloodstone will be complete as soon as that courier respawns in 5 seconds' time. So we'll see him even with the second Soul Ring all ready to go. So this Tinker is starting to reach that scary Tinker status.
I mean, I think he still needs one more item on top of the Bloodstone to be able to do anything. And at top, oh, that's such a well set up kill.
MP now, godlike streak for him on Queen of Pain. He has just had such a high impact. His movements around the map have caused a lot of problems for Phoenix.
Oh, and I think they're just going to get aggressive as they can in the jungle here because they realize that there's a big enough lead and the Slardar's down. You don't really have the best counter-initiate as a result of that. Like, yes, you're going to run into March and stuff like that, but you're not going to get stunned up. And the Slardar doesn't want to buy back here because that would just kill all chances of a comeback for him. And this is going to mean a free tower as the glyph is down.
Yeah, KP's just going to keep throwing down the march here, but Forev could start chipping away on the range racks, especially since that will not be regenerating up. He's on the high ground here. It looks like he's just farming. Actually, no, he's taking down the ward and the tombstone, and this makes the defense even more difficult. The march is there, but Forev just taking everything up. That's going to be a dead range rack to start this off as Queen of Pain blinks out to safety, and Slardar now coming back in 2 seconds. Probably about time for Forev to back off, but he's going to keep on fighting. Looks for March, gets the G-Crep off on the Weaver right clicks, but still, the hold is just not very menacing from Phoenix.
Oh, unless Forever actually gets cut out here, but he gets repelled.
BKBs?
Oh no, he BKB.
And he's going to turn and fight. He gets the Pugna, start the fight off. Then he's going to move on to March. March no longer has the decrypt. Buyback from Pugna. Melee racks now completely exposed. Is some nuke damage coming out? The Pugna Death Ward. Now the Guardian Angel. This is going to keep everyone pretty sustained. They lose Omni Knight to the magic damage. Nuts now being chased down. Weaver wants to kill. The Soul Rip will keep him alive. Blink in from Queen of Pain. Seals the deal. As MP will pay for it with his life, though. Probably not worth in the end for him as he loses his Beyond Godlike streak to Cure. There's some catch-up money for the Slaughter. And it looks like MVP Phoenix will be able to repel Hot6. They're chasing. They want some more. QO has a blink soon. Once this Shadow Strike ends on him, he will be able to blink out. But now the cast comes in with a Death Ward. Wants to turn it around. The Decrypt onto the Tinker will help save his life. As KP is low, but the Desolator Weave will be enough. That's a dead Tinker. 17 seconds on the respawn time because of the Bloodstone. But while this is going on, Forev continuing to find kill after kill, it seems. QO's going to BKB all of a sudden, but he cannot match up to the Weaver right-click damage, especially in Sprint. That's going to be another death to QO. Forev wreaking havoc here on the backlines. He's low. He has a time-lapse, though, if he needs it. Probably won't look to do so. Tinker's now back alive, blinks in, gets one kill on the Dazzle. Weaver now finally goes down to the Pugna. This is finally starting to turn in the favor of MVP Phoenix. They get a double kill on KP. They salvage the situation, keep their melee rack standing. No, they lost their melee racks in the middle. Okay, they did keep it standing. It did cost them multiple buybacks, but the final gold exchange does go in their favor.
I mean, I'm kind of blown away with what just happened, and that goes on from what we said in the beginning of this match, right? Is that neither of these teams want to back down from each other, and they're just going to try to grab as much as they can in these team fights. And for MVP Phoenix, you're pretty happy with that. Yeah, you lost the racks, but it's the less important one. It is the range racks, where we call it the underrated racks to make you feel better if you manage to take it down. But I mean, the Tinker, in terms of net worth, I mean, look at it. He's just skyrocketed. QO as well isn't doing too poorly for himself. I mean, now he's 4th because he picked up that godlike spree on that Queen of Pain. I mean, things are really starting to look up for MVP Phoenix right now, and that's kind of the problem with going that aggressive. Yes, the Slardar is dead, but the Tinker is going to be alive shortly, and you have to be careful of the counter initiation at that point.
They're looking to hunt now through this Radiant jungle. They saw the Queen of Pain earlier. The Tinker's going to blink on in. Blink Crush available. MP going to insta BKB. The amp damage is there. But QO won't be able to chase. Not with this. He needs to maybe BKB himself. He's going to do so just to avoid the cask. And they need to fight underneath this Nether Ward. Out comes the Guardian Angel once more. The Tombstone and Nether Ward working in tandem. They're going to try focus down the Tombstone. Will be successful, but they lose Tinker. Bloodstone Suicide from KP. Has a buyback if he wants to use it. Going to decide against it. Forev, meanwhile, brings down the Nether Ward. Both Nether Ward and Tombstone have been dealt with, and as a result, Forev going to 3-shot the Disruptor if he can, but he cannot get the third right click off. Decrypt from Febby keeps him alive, but Nuts is still trapped in a corner, and Jerax will find him. There we go.
He's actually
Took his
Glimmer
time.
kicked up Febby, but I think March and Febby are going to go down for this, as March is dipping quite low.
Tinker's respawned. Tinker's actually going to TP in here. Starts throwing out some missiles here in the backlines. Febby brought down. KP going to go with some missiles as well as a laser. Now the March of the Machines goes down. Jerax gets vision of him, but still alive thanks to the Voodoo Restoration. The cast now bouncing. KP gets Sonic waved up. Can he TP out? Blinks to the north, gets another kill with the missiles, and will TP out. Despite the Beals feeding him, no, he doesn't get the TP out. KP. Secondary Bloodstone Suicide in a row, down to just 4 charges. This Tinker not having the easiest time in these fights.
It's just so hard for him to maneuver because there's so many mobile heroes on the side of MVP Hot6, and if he gets hit by anything, he just goes down so quickly to that Weaver. And I mean, MVP Phoenix are doing such an admirable job of how they set up these fights and how they're surviving. Special credit here to Febby because he's hit so many clutch Decrepifies in a row to keep the fights going, but it just doesn't feel like it's quite enough as the farm advantage from the cores is just too big, as the Slardar just doesn't provide enough damage for you, and you're putting, like you said, so much on the back of the Tinker right now.
Well, it's going to be another straightforward Roshan for MVP Hot6, and that's an Aegis onto Weaver, which could just set them up for another high ground siege. We saw last time how easy it is just to put Weaver on the high ground with a repel. He can take a bit of physical damage and doesn't have to worry about the March of the Machines. And, well, the other big problem is a Hex completed for Queen of Pain. So the pick-off potential onto the Tinker now skyrockets.
Yeah, and this is going to be the item I feel that opens up a lot of corridors for MVP Hot6, as they can finally just kind of deal with QO, because before they would go in on him and they have 0 stuns that are reliable that can lock him down. Like BKB reigns king in this game for MVP Phoenix, but with this Hex down, maybe you can finally kill KP without him getting the suicide off, because that is a fairly large thing. The fact that he manages to get the suicide off, he's not losing too much gold or experience for it, and he just gets back into the fight so quickly. And for MVP Hot6, you don't really have to wait for too much more, as you do have the Aegis now.
Well, Phoenix may just have to let their melee racks go here. Maybe not the easiest thing to say to yourselves, but with a pipe now completed on Jerax's Witch Doctor, this is a very hard rack to defend. They've got Glyph available, but they may just want to hold on to it. Blink Crush from Q. He's now picked up an armlet to go with his BKB. Once in on MP, the Death Lord going to push him back though, and the physical damage almost brings him down alone, as the melee racks will fall, and that puts Sada's BKB on cooldown as well.
And he actually opted to go for an armlet, which I'm kind of surprised with, Gods, because there's a lot of tick damage on the side of MVP Hot6. They've got the Queen of Pain dagger, they've got the Weaver who's going to constantly assault you. It's hard to take note of how quick his attacks come in succession. And then on top of that, you've got the Witch Doctor, his ultimate, and the Malediction.
Well, he didn't level Maledict, unfortunately, but yeah, normally you'd expect him to have it.
And he's got the Urn, so it's a little bit difficult. But I feel that that's kind of a response to how the game is going. He's like, I have to get a cheap item. What will help me out the most for cost right now? Yeah. And I don't actually think there's an item that's better than Armlet for him here, if he thinks this is kind of the game-winning or game-losing fight.
It's very much, yeah, like you say, what do you buy with that amount of money? What other possibilities are there? And you're thinking maybe like you get like your casual Sanj, try to get a Sanj and Yashi, you get a Vlad's, you get like whatever it may be. You can't really buy any amazing item at that price point. So it's getting tricky here, and MVP Hot6 just have so much sustain. The Witch Doctor with the max Voodoo Restoration, they've got Pipe, they've got Shadow Wave, they've got Omni Knight. Getting kills onto any Radiant heroes is becoming near impossible, and that's where Tinker alone can't do it. All his damage is just like slow chip damage. He fires a couple of missiles in a row, he throws down the March the machines, but the constant heals is great against the Tinker, and that's where they need burst damage coming out from somewhere, but they just don't really have that one source.
And it kind of reflects their lineup as well, because they've picked an Undying and a Pugna. Hopefully, I think their strategy was to kind of control the lanes, and then the team fights would be unlosable for them. But the Undying and the Pugna just weren't able to really gain a foothold at bottom, as the Weaver still kind of farmed whatever he wanted. And the mobility of this hero against the lineup of MVP Phoenix right now feels a little bit too strong, especially with how many times MP went to top, killed the Slardar, killed the farm progression of him, slowed down the Blink Dagger, and it just made it so difficult to pressure the Weaver in time.
Well, somebody's going to have to go in at some point. 4F just going to keep whittling away at this tier 3 tower as gets down to below half HP. He backs off, gets healed up, and he just still with a bit of time left.
They realize as well that the Glyph is down, and they don't want to fight against a Tinker with Glyph. They've got plenty of time on the Aegis, and everything relies on MVP Phoenix right now, as Frev also has buyback time lapse.
Oh, he's going to blink past the repelled Weaver, goes in on Jerks on the Witch Doctor, but he now gets healed up. And this is just looking like a disaster for MVP Phoenix. Guardian Angel comes through. They are fighting underneath the Nether Ward, but none of the Radiant heroes seem to care. They've got BKB on Weaver, BKB on Queen of Pain in the back lines as well, and they are just tearing apart the MVP Phoenix lines. They're getting thinned apart, and this is it for MVP Phoenix, at least for their bottom lane of racks. Forev will come back. He's low on HP, but hey, you don't mind. He's got an Aegis.
Yeah, the fact that he hasn't lost the Aegis here, I mean, if Phoenix has to ask themselves, like, how do we get him low again? Like, it feels like they're at full HP once more.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's exactly the situation. And do they really even come close? Like, they went initiated with the Blink Crush on Witch Doctor, but they didn't even get him below half HP. That's the Witch Doctor.
There's just too much that they have to get through. They have a perfectly balanced lineup in terms of armor, in terms of lifesteal. They've got tons of auras. If you noticed, everything flew onto the Witch Doctor at once. Like, he pops his pipe, the medallion goes off on him as well, the heal from the Omni Knight comes down. You're not going to be able to do that.
I think he even got graved. He got graved. I'm pretty sure I saw a grave animation. I'm like, wait a second. He's like 2/3 HP, but I guess better safe than sorry. They thought they were going to just do a huge damage dump on him, but oh, man.
Frev goes to the greed now. He understands that he can go for this in QO. He's going, this feels like a desperation smoke to me, honestly. I feel like this is one of those, let's see if we can pick at least one hero off. There's no downside if we don't, because we're just going to lose racks playing the way that we did before anyways.
Well, who's he going to find? Sees Heen on the south. Blink Crush is there, but the follow-up damage Not very impressive. Heen still full HP, repelled.
Oh, that Solar Crest value.
Everything just being used to keep him alive. QO now surrounded by 4 heroes. He may be able to get Heen. He does do so. Pays for it with his life as well as the life of 2 of his teammates. Dazzle down.
They did it. Getting 1 hero at this point is a success.
I did not expect them to get 1 hero there.
The Solar Crest almost paid off.
Yep.
He missed the first 3 hits off on him, and
Got the last couple at least.
yeah, Kyo dies for it, but I think it was just something that he felt frustrated about, right? It's like, I'm gonna hard commit for this. I have to get out with at least this. Just give me this.
Yeah, they were only 3v5. They were really hoping that they could get to top lane, catch MVP Hot6 before they'd fully grouped up as 5 and were maybe like split in 2. Some people shopping at the secret shop, some people farming the Ancients. And then, because often you go for that top lane push, you don't meet until you get to the tier 2 tower, but Forev now, he's just off on his own. He's just getting some high ground information here at the mid lane, and this is just not going to be an easy or really even possible hold for MVP Phoenix, it looks like.
Yeah, he's got a butterfly completed as well, and MVP Phoenix, if they thought it was hard to hold on the previous fight, yes, he lost his Aegis, but you pick up a butterfly as a result, and the DPS coming out of that hero is insane. The Tinker doesn't have enough farm. Q is going to go in, though.
Well, he's going to make one last hurrah here. MP is the focus. Can he go down? He will be brought down before he can use any of his defensive spells. Couldn't be kept alive there. Now the Guardian Angel comes out. It's too late for the Queen of Pain, who will buy back. Try and make his way back in the fight. Jerax is kept alive by Purification. Zombies. Zombies friggin' everywhere. Jerax the one who's going to have to deal with it. He's being surrounded now, but MP back in the fight. Sonic Wave from low ground to high ground. Catches a lot, but it's going to be enough. 3 dead on the Dire side. Make it 4 with Tinker brought down. Weaver is just unstoppable. He's got an ultra kill. He's looking for the Rampage. Come on, Nuts. Give him the mana Rampage. Turn around. Doesn't get it in time, but it's a convincing 2-0 lead for MVP Hot6 now.
Yeah, it felt like the laning phase, they were just able to snowball, and for me personally, it feels like this MVP Hot6 lineup, it reminds me of Complexity, the team that I casted in the North American qualifiers, where they were able to win through just smart strategic play in the mid game, which was balanced out by a really strong laning phase.
The support play from, Jerax especially has been amazing, but it feels like every player on the team's delivered. And, well, we're rejoined at the panel by Purge as well as Zayuri.
Wow.
We expected a closer series for the most part.
Yeah, definitely. But Hot6 just seemed to be performing. I mean, the sustainability was just absurd, and I love the way they itemized. Blitz pointed it out at the end, the amount of auras that they had, the pipe, the Vlads, the medallion usage, all of it together. It just seemed like... I feel like that Dazzle at the end basically summarized that game, where QO was all in, full duration BKB, and just barely killed that one support, and that was all he could get out of it. Very impressive stuff.
The push was basically just 2 heroes. Frev had almost all the items, and MP was looking for the initiation, and then he had Dazzle heal, Witch Doctor heal, Omni heal. If anything went bad, bam, 700 HP kind of a thing.
Look at some of these scores.
Amazing.
Sunby is 1-3-3, Forev 19-3-9.
Yeah.
That sums up their strategy right there.
It looks like he did nothing, but really the heals and the repel, he got his levels. He did good in the early laning stage, and it translated to the push. And there was one moment when they were bot racks, I actually felt a little scared for them because the observer clicked on all the heroes. And I was like, these supports actually have no items. It was like Medallion Wand Tranquil on Dazzle, and Jerax was really farmed, but Sunby didn't have that much either. It was like Arcane Boots of Vlad's Wand, and then Frev had good items, MP had good items. I was like, maybe they can win this. And it was a strat that basically needed to secure the push, and if the push didn't work, they would have completely gotten run over, but they did secure it.
I really like the way Jerax itemized here. You don't see pipe on Witch Doctor all that often. If it's not the Aghanims, it's usually more that mobility-based, like Force Staff, Glimmer Cape, those type of items. But pipe was just really the perfect item here. So much magic damage on the Dire side. And even though KP played a good Tinker, it just wasn't enough.
For me personally, too, I don't even know if Jerax is the MVP here because I felt like Forev played near flawlessly as the Weaver. Even the buyback there, securing the 5-man team wipe for their team, the way that he kind of just came in and out, scuttlebutted around, used his Sakuchi to full effect, it just felt like this guy, he made full use of his farm. There was no throw involved there. It felt like it was a disciplined game where he played within the confines of his teams, and he understood, don't get too over-aggressive, just play the objectives. If my team dives, go with them, and it just felt like controlled aggression from start to finish.
He had a tough lane too, against the Undying Jewel lane, and then in the mid to late game is against the Slaughter. So to do that against those heroes, to me, was, also really solid. And Jerax, I think he did what he always does, which is just be super menacing and annoying in the early to mid game. Found a ton of kills, which you don't expect from a Witch Doctor, but Yeah, I agree. I think Weaver is the big playmaker, the big hero that really delivered this game.
Yeah, definitely. So 2-0 in the first 2 games. Thoughts about how to prevent this from being a 3-0. What is it for MVP Phoenix? Is this a drafting issue, an execution issue, some sort of combination?
They pick different things every game. It seems like they have tons of strats prepared. That's what it feels like to me. And that one is very different than the previous ones that they've done and a lot of the other ones that we've seen in the qualifiers. We've been seeing so much stuff out of Hot6. Man, every game that I watch them play, they just grow in my mind. They get better and better, and they look like a very serious TI contender. They're a great team.
I can't disagree. Any thoughts on that side? I mean, what can Phoenix do to prevent this from being a clean sweep?
It really feels like a playstyle issue where the way the two teams match up, Phoenix just don't have an answer to what Jerix does in the early game. And in the mid game, that's where 4F steps in and does what he needs to do. So I think Jerix is a key player because he can shut down the good early game of QO, or he shuts down the good early game of someone like KP. Both game 1 and game 2, though, it was QO. First QO in the mid lane, then this game it was QO in the safe lane on Slider having a rough time. So it seems Jerix is really good at identifying which lane he can have the most impact in as far as shutting down a core Phoenix hero. I mean, it just so happens both games it's QO. Maybe game 3 it's a different hero, but I think it's going to be maybe kind of predicting what Jerix is, trying to predict where Jerix is going to go, and counter gank and just retaliate better, because they never seem to have TPs to kind of deal with Jerix's early game aggression.
I think this is going to sound a little harsh, but for me it feels like MVP Phoenix are being mentally beat right now. With what happened in the mid lane, with what Jerix just did to them, they kind of picked their standard style. They got whomped on. Like, the game was not close. I mean, there was just too much that happened around the map that they couldn't really keep up. So game 2, it felt like more of a desperation thing. They're like, KP, this is your best hero. It was kind of like for me on Zephyr, where it was like, your Storm, like, good luck. Try to do as much as you possibly can. If that's your strat going in, that one player has to have like a world-changing individual performance. I feel like you're already sort of beat, because you can't just put it all on his shoulders. You can't just be like, oh, well, we'll wait it out and hopefully the mid-game goes okay, and then you can kind of do your own thing, KP. And that's what you said as well. That's what it felt like to me. In the mid-game, they put so much on KP's shoulders, and I felt like that was the game plan the entire time, but I think it wasn't an optimal one, and I think it was one born of desperation rather than an actual tactic. It was like, well, let's put QO in a lane that he's not really comfortable in. Let's do something a little bit off the beat. Let's hopefully KP can kind of get going. And let's just see what happens from there.
All right. Well, with that, we'll have another break, folks. And then coming back, game number 3 of MVP Phoenix versus MVP Hot6 will be coming up. We'll see if it's a clean sweep for Hot6 or if MVP Phoenix can stay alive with a win coming up next. Stick around to see how this series concludes.
Actually, in middle, MP goes for it.
Solo kill on Tinker. The glimpse back under the tower. It looks like MP should pay for this with his life. There will be a second kill going the way of the Radiant as Jerix picks another up for Hot6. A 2-for-1 trade. Disruptor got a lot of farm and XP out of that.
And I don't. Oh, and at top actually.
There was a lot of
Sunbee's
chain
solo.
stuns there. The bash is coming out as well. Gets the tower deny. Looking for a TP with the repel. Gets glimpse back as the repel wears off, it looks like. And they'll get the kill on Omni Knight.
When at top though, MP, he's ready for this.
Yep, Sonic Wave and everything. QO goes in with the stun, but MP should be okay. He can kite around this one. In fact, he's going to turn and fight with a creep wave. Has a scream, and it's a double kill going MP's way. Oh boy, bottom lane meanwhile, there's a big fight going on. Witch Doctor started the funnel for the kill. No surprises there, but he did pay for it with his life. Maybe be careful here. In comes 4Rev. Gets the Gemini attack after the Chikuchi. March is going to go down. It looks like TP in from Tinker. He could go for the counter kill. 4Rev, 2 seconds, 1. Chikuchi coming up soon, but not soon enough. KP gets a much-needed counter kill here at the bottom lane.
Single most annoying hero in Dota.
Good luck ever actually killing him once he has the Bloodstone as well, which has normally been the pick up here. Bottom lane. We're going to go for the kill on Jerix. They get him. Tinker's being dived here. Nice cast bouncing around, but 4Rev kind of in over his head here alone. The Tombstone's being dropped as well. He TP's into his death, and that's 2 kills. They do get the Tinker in the backlines here. That was a rotation from MP as well as Sunbee. And 4Rev with the repel on feels like he can just continue to fight. Gets the GA as well. The life drain coming in, and Sunbee, he's going to be kept alive. Gets off another heal. Sonic Wave goes through, kills off a second Phoenix hero. A third goes down at 4Rev, and they're just cleaning up Phoenix now. 4 down. Just a Slider remains. Blink, Crush. They want these kills, and QO may get them. Buyback time lapse. 4Rev says, I don't think so, my friend. And it's a team wipe for, I believe, 5 for 4 with a Weaver. That Desolator damage tears him apart. As he now gets caught out by a nice Blink Crush. QO brings down the Witch Doctor to start things off here. He's going to be careful. As he is. Still, the hold is just not very menacing from Phoenix.
Oh, unless Forever actually gets cut out here, but he gets repelled.
BKBs?
Oh no, he gets, yeah, he BKB.
And he's going to turn and fight. He gets the Pugna to start the fight off. Then he's going to move on to March. March no longer has the decrypt. Buyback from Pugna. Melee racks now completely exposed. Is some nuke damage coming out? The Pugna Death Ward. Now the Guardian Angel. This is going to keep everyone pretty sustained. They lose Omni Knight to the magic damage. Nuts now being chased down. Weaver wants to kill. The Soul Rip will keep him alive. Blink in from Queen of Pain. Seals the deal. As MP will pay for it with his life, though. Probably not worth in the end for him as he loses his Beyond Godlike streak to Kyo. There's some catch-up money. Probably won't look to do so. Tinker's now back alive. Blinks in, gets one kill on the Dazzle. Weaver now finally goes down to the Pugna.